So apparently I've gone live. So just going to wait until it actually flashes up. Hopefully as a notification. If you see it before I do, please do let me know. Ah, there we go. That was a weird error. Okay, so just watching myself to make sure it works. And we've got volume and the picture is good. Okay, turn myself down, otherwise it's going to freak me right out. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're joining this live, it's been a while since I've done one. And kind of had some downtime over Christmas and New Year, like most people, and kind of reevaluated, looked at what worked last year. The challenge duty stuff was really enjoyable, actually, but I wanted to actually dive into more around conversational design, integrations, getting a bit more into the detail of what's possible with no code. All the talk, I think, since November has all been about ChatGPT. I know I've been looking at it a lot, getting to grips with it and learning how to really design prompts. If you've not had a look at that yet, then I would say get on YouTube and look at the whole element of prompts, which is a bit like Google search, I suppose. We all got better at search once we understood how Google worked. With something like ChatGPT, it's about the prompts, really good. Came up with the idea of this one really to look at integrating with ticketing or live chat products. There's a lot out there. If anybody can see this, please comment and let me know. Saying there's 18 people, fantastic. That'd be nice if it's true. So integrating with no code, and this time we're going to look at Genesis. Most people in conversational design and the conversational AI arena will know Genesis. It's a great product. So the whole area of chatbot and human working together, chatbot teaming, where the chatbot does some of the work and then potentially hands over to a human, and then the human does what they need to do and then potentially hands back to the chatbot. Done well, it can be a thing of beauty, but we've all seen it done poorly. The focus really with Judy is they work really heavily in the education sector and around student recruitment. So if you imagine you're a large university and you've got thousands of people looking up, coming to the website, exploring the website, coming onto the chatbot, and they want to see what's available to them. And Judy have done some really clever things in that it can ask the person to describe a bit about themselves and what they like to do in their spare time, and then it can recommend the kind of courses that are going to be useful to them. So I'll put chat in case somebody's messaging, which is really, really clever. But we've all seen a chatbot where you basically just get to the end of the conversation with the chatbot and you can't go any further, and then there's no fallback to a human. So there's no teamwork going on between the chatbot and the human. So if you think about it in the educational sector, a student's question can be quite general, which would sit under kind of like a Q&A, or it can be really specific, where it probably wouldn't fall under a Q&A and needs that human support. And that might be about them getting financial support, for instance. A chatbot can't really have those detailed conversations, what's best for them. The chatbot might have recommended some courses, some study for them, some educational programs, and it just might not be the right one. So firstly, I'm just going to quickly show you where the third-party connector is within Judy. So I'm going to share my screen. It's going to look a bit weird for a split second. And then that should be looking far, far better. If you've not been to one of my lives before and seen Judy, This is what the start screen looks like. And basically, you've got two menu options on the left, chatbots and third-party integrations. They keep it right at the front, which is nice. And you can see these are all the chatbots I've been learning, practicing, training on to get used to the Juji platform. I try to work it out. I think I've used more than 30, potentially more than 30 different conversational AI products now. And they're all different. You know, there's obviously similarities because they're all kind of doing the same thing. But Juji, in terms of no code, kind of stands on its own. It's very unusual in how powerful it is. So in terms of third-party integrations, you see the big flashy button there for Genesis. And what I really like is they really made it easy. Just check the chat. Really made it easy. So they actually talk you through the whole thing. It's 4 steps. Configure Genesis to permit Juji integration. Configure Juji to connect with Genesis. Configure Genesis routing to accept those chatbot messages. And enable your chatbot for AI-human handoff. And simply just follow it through. So if you hit the get started, it's going to take you through them 1, 2, 3, 4. But if there's any problems, you can just nip into any of these sections. So I'm going to hit get started. And it effectively talks you through the whole process. I think this is really done well. You can see exactly what you need to do. So that's step 1, tells you everything. Move through to step 2. So still configuring Genesis to permit Juji integration. Do the authorization. Then we move through, connect Juji to connect with Genesis, and you have to put in all the details as you would expect. You have to create some flows. Enable the chatbot for AI human handoff or handover, and you'll see that's actually done within Juji, but because I've not got access to Genesis, I don't see that in my options yet, but I have watched it done live. Then you need basically some way to trigger the handoff. The easiest one for anybody is a quick Q&A, FAQ, which just triggered on a keyword, talk to human and variations of that. And then it flicks out, you basically build what they call a multi-turn Q&A. And then you can configure additional elements of the message to collect information as they go through the conversation. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty well done. So I'm going to flick across again, this time to a little presentation I've got. So I'll actually show you this live now. So if I present this. So this is what it would look like in Juji. So you'd go to Design and Chatbot Settings in the top right. And then you'll see here, we've got this element called Integration Control. So you enable the live chat after you've done the configuration, obviously. You enable end user live chat button. So they've got it there. And you also have an end live chat button message. So if they don't want to wait and they just want to end the live chat, pretty straightforward. You can see within the design where they connect. And then there's 3 elements that you need to set up within this multi-turn Q&A. You need to set up the live chat unavailable message, the pre-handoff message, and then the post-handoff message. So, for instance, a live agent unavailable message is pretty straightforward. It's going to apologize, basically state the fact that no one's available, and allow them to try later. Alternatively, we could, if we wanted to, we could always use that attribute that we've collected live chat unavailable and then trigger another message. So you can see here in this precondition, the attribute live agent unavailable is true. We can then create a message which is really simple to do. And the bot can then say, I'm going to collect some info and get back to you when one of our agents is available. Really, really good. Obviously, you need to tell them to stay on the chat. Or if you collected an email, you can probably trigger it that way. If you've got any questions, please do ask them. Then you've got the pre-handoff message. So this would just be confirmation that you're handing over the message to an agent if they're available. And then you've got the post handoff. So at the end of the agent helping the customer, they should then hand back over to the bot. In here, we've got the example, welcome back, but you would have something that's more balanced with your business. And I'd probably give them next steps or even some suggestions. So that's how it's set up. So you do the configuration using the third-party connector. You then come in and build wherever you want to give them the option to launch live chat. So you saw there were several options there. Can I just flip back? I have to go back. Yeah, so you saw here that there was this option to enable user end live chat button. But the live chat there, you need a way to trigger it. You can have it automatically trigger, obviously, within the conversation, or you can have it trigger when the user's not getting an answer they require, or there's no Q&A for it, or if they simply just ask. So that's really, it's no more complicated than that. Once that's set up, Judy is ready to go. So in terms of hand it over to live chat, why do you want that human fallback? Why do you want that human teaming? Basically, firstly, it's an improved customer experience. Many of us have gone through a conversation with a chatbot. It's not been able to get answer our question, or it's answering weirdly or not answering at all, and there's no fallback to a human. So it's a horrible experience. Admittedly, agents can't always be available, but there should always be something to fall back to. As we saw in that setup screens earlier, if an agent's not available, then just take some details so that when an agent does become available, they can have the conversation. Improve customer satisfaction. If the customer's getting a good experience, it's obviously going to improve the customer satisfaction, even if you can't give them the answer they were looking for. So a great example of this is they come through, they're trying to get a refund, the product's faulty, it's not what they wanted, they've changed their mind, whatever. They come through, hand it over to the agent tells them, oh, well, unfortunately, you've changed your mind 2 months later, I can't give you a refund. As long as they've had a good experience, more often than not, they're satisfied. They didn't get the answer they want, but they were treated like a human. Increased efficiency. This is one that we often talk about, which is, especially if you think about it in that kind of education setting, when you've got lots of people contacting the university, the college, whatever it might be, in a very small window, it can be a horrible experience. People are trying to get answers via email, they're trying to call up, they're looking for information on the website, they're chatting with the chatbot. The great thing is if the chatbot can do some of the heavy lifting with the simple stuff, then it allows the agents, the customer service staff, to really focus on the stuff that needs human intelligence, needs the human empathy and the human support. There's obviously cost savings there as well. Any time that you can, offload's not the right term, but anytime you can move a set of simple questions to be answered very, very quickly, hence why people build FAQs on websites, hoping that people will get the FAQs there and the simple questions are dealt with, it can bring massive cost savings. The other thing I really like about the kind of handover process, the human teaming, is it can really push the consistency of approach. So every customer that arrives, every potential student in that education setting gets the same experience at the beginning of the conversation. Hopefully, with a good chunk of those, the chatbot can do everything they need. Where it's not, that everybody's going to get that same smooth handover to an agent. You would hope if your agents are trained and experienced and understand what they're doing, they're going to get a really nice, consistent approach there. And then the handback to the chatbot is going to be consistent as well. So that's really, really powerful. There's the flexibility, and the main one is the obvious one, that you can provide support, student support, 24/7, even when the agent's not available. And where they're calling outside of agent time, you can still acknowledge they've got an issue or they've got a question, collect the details, and then have an agent contact them back later. And another one that people don't think about is data collection. You get some really solid data collection, and it's something that I really hone in on when I'm building with a client, is talking about data. Potentially the chatbot could be having thousands of conversations a day and collecting data, names, their needs, their wants, information such as phone numbers, emails, and all that stuff. And you don't really want it to be just sat there in a conversation, never to be seen by a human again, and not being useful. So got to think about a way of saving those attributes, those variables, and making sure that there's a way of checking them and make sure you've got the most up-to-date information. We know people just change. Emails don't change that often, but phones will just change willy-nilly. I think now, because most people are texting and WhatsApping and messaging in all its forms, they don't really care too much about their phone number anymore. And I put a top tip in there, which I think is quite important, which is it's crucial to keep in mind. Sorry, just watching the chat. It's important to keep in mind that chatbot to human handover should be incorporated into the overall customer service processes, which is the tricky part, and should never be a substitute for talented and skilled human agents. That's where the real skill is. Remember that, you know, the chatbot and the human are working as a team. There's several implementation techniques, and this is something that people don't consider, is that there isn't just the one way to do to initiate chatbot to human handover. So you can have rule-based, which is, oh God, yeah, I used to use this an awful lot at one stage. So basically you get to a point and the handover is just initiated because the rule says at this point, initiate agent takeover. Confidence threshold. So I've seen this on several platforms when you can normally change that threshold. So if it's below 50% threshold of accuracy or confidence, then it can hand over to a human. Really useful when you first start training your chatbot on intents and getting customers through it, and your agents are ready to kind of step in, and then that additional training could be added, and then the threshold can start to be dropped. Context-based handover. So the context is, who are they? What conversational track are they? What's their real intent? Are they tire kicking? Are they, are they definitely interested in attending the education program? Are they already enrolled in the education program? Are they an ex-student? So you can have some context-based handover. One of those might be you get to a point where we do need some personal details, like a learner number or a registration number, and you might think that at that point we'll hand it over to a human because there's no point in the chatbot collecting that information. You've got customer initiated, which we saw at the beginning, which is the obvious one, is I don't want to speak to a chatbot, I'd rather speak to a human. Please, can I speak to one of your agents? Can I speak to a customer service representative? Really important. Agent initiated, which is never really discussed because it's not used that often, but there can be elements within big teams where people are monitoring conversations and they see a conversation is not going right, or it could be a high ticket conversation, for example, and they think the best thing to do is quickly just drop a human into that conversation. And then there's a hybrid, which is, it's a bit of every, it could be a bit of one or two of those together. So it could be a bit of rule-based and confidence. It could be a bit of confidence and context. You can mix it up a little bit. That's the end of the slides. I didn't want to go on too long with slides. I know it can get a bit monotonous. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to actually see it live. So hopefully My agent is on the other end. And if we imagine we're on a university website now and we want to know a bit more information, if you've not seen it before, this is what the widget looks like on a typical website. All of this is customizable, so you can have a different image, you can do an introduction, you can ask for name and other details, but name is normally just enough to start the conversation. Again, if you're a conversational designer, I would definitely recommend signing up for Juji Studio. It's got some really interesting no-code features that you will not see anywhere else. It's very powerful, very quick to develop on, which I know for many of us as conversational designers, that's really important. We can really bring our conversations to life quickly and put them into a test environment or a live environment. I really like the way they do it. And you get to use it for free until the moment you put it into a live environment. So you can spend as long as you like playing around with it, learning about it, and the team know what they're talking about as well. I've not had a problem they haven't been able to solve yet. So we get to this stage, and we're going to try that speak to human. And straight away we come up with that pre-connection message. And it said, hold on, let me know if someone is available. Then it's come back and said, thank you for waiting. You're currently number one in the Q&A. Jump with you shortly. Occasionally, wait time can be long. If you don't wish to wait, you can disconnect. So you remember in the setup at the beginning where there was a green button, the option to have a button to disconnect. So normally we'd be waiting now for an agent. One thing I will say about any kind of customer service team, contact center, call center, that initiate the kind of agent handover, you've got to be quick. Straight away that's come through, which is beautiful. The days of leaving customers waiting 15 minutes to speak to someone are over. Customers have no longer got the patience. And especially if you think about education and you're selling educational programs, you want to enroll as many people as possible. That generation are not a waiting generation. They want answers to their questions. They want enough information they can make a decision. More often than not, somebody else is paying, so they'll have lots of questions. So we've got the response. Hi, Jim. How can I help you today? So I'm just going to simply say, I'm interested in using Chatbot in an education setting such as a university. Do you have any information? Okay, so we asked the question. I really like the kind of color scheme that Juji go with, that kind of pastel colors, nice and gentle on the eyes. Very easy to send a message. I did manage to have a look at the Genesis side, and it's really lovely how the call comes in, the interface, the agent can look at the call transcript. So if I've been back and forward with the chatbot, the agent can go in, have a look at the information. They can see what's been spoken about before, so they're not going over the same information, which I think is really, really useful. So we've got an answer. Sure, Juji support a lot of use cases in the education sector you can find more on, and they've given me a hyperlink. And if I go to that, there we go. Takes us straight to the website. Fantastic. So if we go to education, there we go. And you see, it gives you a bit of information. We've got some chatbot use cases. So student recruitment, telling us what they can do, answer prospective student FAQs, ask prospects open-ended questions. That is so powerful. You're a conversational designer. Open-ended questions often scare us, but the way Juji works, I prefer them. Really, really works well. And the main thing in this education setting, I think, is persuade and attract prospects. I think we can pretty sure that most people are going to want to speak to a human before they make that big investment. So I found the information I want. Arrange a time to speak. No, to have a demo. Obviously, we're not going to set up the demo now, but you can see how the kind of conversation would go. So that is kind of the Juji side of integration into a well-known platform such as Juji, how quickly you can set that up, but also gives you a little bit of an introduction to chatbot to human handover, what the benefits are and the different techniques. And then we got to see it live. Why do people, if you were to ask the question, why do people opt for a chatbot or to speak to a chatbot on a website rather than search for an FAQ or go on a form or search or phone or anything else? I think there's two elements. You've got the people that are just quickly asking the question in between doing something else. They just want to hand it off, go about doing whatever they were doing and wait for a response. You've got the people that just don't want to get tied up for 15, 30 minutes on a phone call. And I think you've got a very young generation who just expect to communicate that way. They're communicating with each other through chat apps. So they expect to speak to businesses and providers in that same way. And what we need to do is make sure that we give a really smooth experience. So I'm just going to... There we go. So that's it. If you've got any questions about chatbot to human handover, just ask them in the comments and myself or somebody else will come along and answer that. Michael Nelson asked about reporting, and that's had a response, which is good. David saying Juji's so strong. Is the reverse possible via a similar process in UI, agent to bot handover? You know what? That's a bloody good question. And I'm not entirely sure. I personally, I've seen that, but I've not done it with Juji. It's something we'll take a look at. So you chat with the agent and then they could basically get to a point and then just move the conversation over back to the chatbot, which then answers their next series of questions. Really good. And somebody else has come in. Sorry, it's not displayed your name in my chat. Love it says, in which queue position you're in. Yeah, Genesis is great, right? That's why so many people use it and so many people love it. But yeah, that's it. If you've got any questions, I'm easy to find. And I look forward to seeing you next week for something interesting. We've got a couple of ideas. We just need to talk through them and see which one's going to bring you guys the most benefit. Take care and thanks for being a part of this broadcast. Bye now.